Hello everyone, welcome back. Today I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit more about the CMMG 22 conversion bolt that I have in this AR-15. So this is a radical AR-15, shoots 5.56, 223, and what I did is I took out the 5.56 bolt and I put in the CMMG 22 conversion bolt, which I find is a great training tool. For one thing, it allows me to shoot steel plate really close, so I can do like close quarter drills. That's not something that I would want to do with 5.56 at this close distance, okay? Because you're gonna get splashback. It's not good. What I've been working on in the last week or so, I've been trying to figure out what the point of impact shift is when I go from 5.56 to the 22 conversion bolt. Because here's the thing, this scope is zeroed in for 50 yards with the 5.56. Okay, so at 50 yards I get a bullseye, and at 200 yards it gives me a second zero. Okay, so at 100 yards I know I'm about 3 or 4 inches high. Okay, so the question becomes, well, what happens when I throw in this conversion bolt? So I did a video on this a couple of days ago, and the first thing I found is that, like I said, at 100, well, first of all, at 50 yards, the zero holds true. So if you have a 50-yard zero, you throw in the 22 conversion bolt, and you should start shooting 22s, you're still going to pretty much be getting a bull, hitting bullseyes at 50 yards. Now at 100 yards, the bullet starts dropping. So normally, if I'm shooting 5.56 at 100 yards, if I put my red dot here, I'm impacting someplace up here. Okay, so normally if I'm with the 5.56, I put my red dot here, so I'm hitting over here. So what I found is with the 22s, right? When I throw in the conversion bolt and I'm using the 22s, now if I'm putting my bullseye there, I'm impacting down here. So basically I'm doing the opposite with this. Instead of putting my red dot here to hit here, I put the red dot at the top of the paper, so I can hit, in the center of the paper with the 22s. All in great. Now the question I've been working on is what happens at 200 yards, because like I said, with the 5.56, you get a 50-yard zero that will give you a second zero at 200 yards. And the cool thing is that this scope that I'm using, this is the Holosun 503 CU. First of all, it's solar powered, so that's really cool. And it has a 65 MOA circle dot. So it has a circle like this, and it's got the red dot in the middle. And the cool thing is, with the 65 MOA circle, at 200 yards, if you put the bottom of your circle on your target, you will be pretty close. Okay, so that's what you do. Instead of putting your red dot on target, you put the bottom of the circle. So that's the that's the short story. Now we're going to talk about the long story, because what I found is that when you're shooting the 22 at 200 yards, the wind makes a really big difference. Now, if you're getting a crosswind, right, a full value crosswind, which means it's not coming in diagonally, it's just going straight, coming straight across from you. At 200 yards, the 22 can move about 2 feet. Okay, so that's with 10 miles per hour. So a 10 mile per hour crosswind at 200 yards will move your 22 about 2 feet, which is pretty close to what happens to the 5.56 at 500 yards. So that's one of the really cool things about the 22, and that's why you can really use the 22 as a good training round for practicing your wind drift, because now you don't need a 500-yard range to practice your wind drift accuracy, and how figuring out how you gotta shift your point of aim. You can do this with 22, at 200 yards. So now the cool thing is that when I was shooting a few days ago, I had about a 15 to 20 mile an hour wind that was coming in at me, right? So it was incoming wind, and those were the for the first couple of days that I was doing this. I mean, it was like every day I had that like 15 to 20 mile an hour incoming wind. So when I was first of all, the target I was using was this Ford, okay, this cardboard box that I've opened up, and this is basically two and a half feet across by 3.5 feet long. So this is pretty cool, you know, about the size of a man-sized target. So really cheap target, you know. So at 200 yards, the first couple of days when I was shooting, and I had that 15 to 20 mile an hour incoming wind, what I was doing is I was taking, because my circle dot has these little lines over here, right? So I took this line over here, and I was taking the bottom portion of this line, right? And I was taking that bottom portion, and I was putting it basically over here, because at 200 yards, this paper is really tiny, so that little line takes up the whole paper. So I was anchoring basically to the bottom of the paper, and that was giving me hits, you know, close to the center of the paper. Okay. So that worked out pretty good for a couple of days. That worked out good for a couple of days, and I thought I had it all perfectly, you know, worked out. And then I go to shoot today, and today I don't have that incoming wind. Okay, I mean sometimes it picks up a little bit, but for the most part, you know, what I did today is since it was stopping, I was waiting until the wind kind of died down to take my shots, and I was able to observe the effect. So. The first time I was shooting, right, and I put this this little line over here. When I anchored it to the paper here, right, the bottom part, I got 3 hits up here. Okay, actually 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is 4, you know, out of 10 shots that I took. And so basically, most of them went up here. So without that incoming wind to slow down the bullet was going a bit faster, so all of a sudden it had, you know, it was able to maintain more lift, you know, or rather it didn't, the wind didn't slow down the bullet enough so that gravity had enough time to pull it down. So what I did next is, you know, I said, let's try something different. And I experimented with a little bit, and I figured out that at 200 yards, when I have no incoming wind, I took this line over here, right? So we've got this line. I took the top part of this line, and I put the top part of that line at the bottom of the paper. So the line was now over here. So instead of having instead of having it here and the top part up here, now the line is, the top part is from here to here, and I was able to hit center mass. So that's a pretty significant change. That's almost about 2 feet of change. You know, because basically I went from here to up here. You know, it's a little bit more, yeah, it's like a full 2.5 feet. So I did 2 groupings. The first grouping I got 7 out of 10, you know, spread out through this whole paper. And like I said, this paper is about 2.5 feet across by 3.5 feet long. And then I did a second grouping, and I got 8 out of 10. So, you know, I would call that pretty effective fire. So I'll show you the holes. So this is at 200 yards, using using that circle dot as an anchoring point. You know, I've got 1. I'm just looking at the second grouping now, not the first one. This is the one I got 8 out of 10. Got 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 2 in that one. 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay. So the second grouping is the one without the circle. The first grouping is the one that I marked with circles. So the reason why I pointed that out is because I wanted you guys to see how it's spread. Okay, so you can get an idea of what the spread is. Again, like I said, this is 2.5 feet across by 3.5 feet long. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 up there. So this is really cool. This is really interesting to me, and I'm very curious to find out if I, you know, it'd be interesting if I get a day where I have outgoing wind at 20 miles per hour, you know, 15 to 20 miles per hour. I want to see what that does to the bullet, because I can definitely see the incoming wind slowing it down, but an outgoing wind, I don't think that's going to speed it up. So I don't think I don't think it'll change it that much, but that remains to be seen. But that's you know, that's what I have to report to you guys. You know, basically, if you're shooting 200 yards and you throw in this conversion bolt, right, where you have if you normally have your rifle sighted in for a 50-yard zero, right? And then you throw in your 22 conversion bolt. If you're shooting 200 yards, what you do is use the bottom of your 65 MOA circle dot to get on the target. Now you may, because your rifle may have a slightly longer barrel or shorter barrel, your bullets might be a little heavier or a little bit lighter. I was using these Blazer. These are 38 grain, 38 grain lead round nose bullets. First of all, these work great with that CMMG conversion bolt. They've been working well without any jams, no problems. I've been getting really good accuracy, at distance. As you saw what the accuracy was with 200 yards. So I've been getting very good accuracy, and they're pretty cheap. I mean, it's still considered cheap bulk ammo. I bought this a couple of months ago. I bought 5,000 rounds for, I think it was $185. Okay, so 5,000 rounds, $185. I'm really glad I bought these before the whole coronavirus meltdown started and all the prices started going up, because now I got plenty of 22s to poke around with. If things get back to normal at some point and you get an opportunity to pick up this Blazer ammo, definitely buy 5,000 rounds at a time. It is worth it. Shoots well. Very few to no jams. I'm really happy with this whole setup. Between the first of all, this conversion, the CMMG conversion bolt, it's working good in all my ARs that I've tried them. Have not had any where it's not working well. I looked at some of the reviews initially. Some people had said, be careful that you don't get, when you pull the hammer back. On a few ARs I've seen where this shifts a little bit back and forth, that would throw off your accuracy. I think they fixed the problem, because it doesn't do that on any of my ARs. It pushes up against the buffer spring pretty good, so it's in there nice and tight. The magazines are really nice. They look pretty tough. I just wish that they would at some point make ones with a this because these are pretty good quality magazines. I wish I hope they make a window for it. Where you can see how many rounds you got in there. That will be very useful. So yeah, between the the conversion bolt, the magazines, and this Blazer ammo, I'm having a real good time with these 22s. If you guys have any questions, comments, feedback, put it in the comment section. If you're not a member of the channel, subscribe. I'll see you guys next time.